Good morning, everybody. Today is May 4th, 2020. Buenos días. Hoy es el 4 de mayo del año 2020. So, good morning, boys and girls. I hope you guys had a great vacation. I know I did. And I hope you got to enjoy some more time with your family. Hopefully, you weren't going a little crazy staying at home. Hopefully, you guys have been able to go out, get some fresh air, and you were able to enjoy your vacation. I did receive the majority of the tests, so I want to thank you guys for that. You did really well on the test for the most part. Some of you may have received some comments, so just make sure, guys, that as we go along, please make sure you're checking up on the assignments that you post and that you're checking on Power School. So what I would suggest today, since we're starting back up today, we're going to start today nice and easy. So it would be a good idea to go to Power School today. Just check your grades, see how you're doing so far, and just remember two things, please. The first one, and this is all for you. This isn't even for me. This is for you. The first thing is just please remember that exit tickets. Those are the formative assessments. Just make sure you're handing those in on time, because again, I give you 3 days to do it. You have plenty of time, and a lot of you are turning them in late, and you're not getting the full credit. You're doing so well, but if you don't turn it in on time, I cannot give you the full credit. So please, look, missing or late assignments can be turned in at any time, but only for a maximum of a 70. So try to get them in on time so you can get that extra 30%. If you get below a 70, I will leave you a comment on your assessment, whether it's a formative or a test. Just read those comments, because if you get below a 70 on an exit ticket, you can resubmit them at any point so you can get up to a 70. So if you bombed it and you want another chance, just read the answers correct and you get a 70. This is for exit tickets. For tests, most of you did really well on the tests, okay? Some of you are still using Google Translate, which I can tell. Again, just try not to do it, because you're going to get answers wrong, all for being lazy, honestly. So please try not to use Google Translate. I'd rather you use your notes, honestly. Try not to use your notes. You should be studying first and then taking the test, but I would rather use notes versus Google Translate. Not only will you actually think about the words a little bit more, but you're probably going to get the words right versus using Google Translate. Anyways, I would like us to begin today's chapter 2. We're going to start today. Again, look out for comments on assessments so that you know what to do. So if you want to retake that test, if you need to retake it, if I left you a comment, just send me an email. Okay? All right, let's begin. So, hoy es el 4 de mayo del año 2020. Today is the 4th of May, 2020. And our objectives are: students will be able to be introduced to Chapter 2's theme of La Familia, the family, and further explore the Spanish culture. What I would like you to do now, you won't see it right here in the video, but attached to this lesson, you're going to see the vocabulary notes for this chapter and the graphic organizers. These are the vocabulary notes for this chapter. And again, you can see that it's a little smaller, less content than chapter 1. So remember, what I would like you to do is, as we go through the vocabulary, you can print this out and you can just highlight the words that we go over. Because if we don't go over some of them, you don't really need to study them if we don't go over them, okay? I will definitely let you know, like I did last time, which ones you don't need to know. But you can do yourself a favor and just highlight them on the side if you want to. It makes it easier for you. These are the graphic organizers for this chapter. So like last chapter, when we start to go over the vocabulary, use the bubbles to fill in your vocabulary so that you have your vocabulary. And I do change it a little bit from the textbook, so make sure that if you download this and you have it ready, when we go through the lesson tomorrow. We're going to do this one tomorrow. So just have it ready, okay? Today's just a little intro to the chapter. It says, so to do now, just download those two, have them ready for tomorrow. For today, too. You might want to use the vocabulary notes for today. But anyways, I would like you to watch today's lesson. And when we're done with the lesson, I want you to study the new vocabulary that we're going to go over today, if there is any new vocabulary. What I would actually like you to study is this list. Just take a look at the list. All right. You might want to start on this side because it goes in order. So the first words we're going to look at are going to be right up here. Okay. So you might want to look at this side today. Just look it over. See if you remember any of them. See if you know any of these words. Like, for example, you might know mama, papa. All right. You might know tío, which means uncle. All right. So just take a look at them and see what you remember for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not asking for a lot. And then I have a video for you to kind of introduce you to the family members. And the video is a YouTube video with this guy named Sabo. Sabo's, so this video's cool, but it's a little weird. The reason why it's a little weird is because he's going to introduce us to his family, this cartoon character. But for some reason, he's a cartoon character and his family is human beings. That's why it's a little weird. But it's a cool video because even though it goes a little fast, you can always rewind it, and it does go through the family members nicely, so you can see which one's which. And it's I just like the video. It's nice. So I want you to watch this afterwards. Now, let's begin the introduction. So hopefully you have these two things ready. You won't need the graphic organizers today, but have the vocab notes on the side just so you can see. And let's go over to our chapter. This is chapter 2 for 6th grade. The way you're going to get to chapter 2, if you're using the online resource, is all you have to do is you go to the tab here on the side, go to chapter 2, and today we're going to look at these two, La Familia y la Casa, and then the introduction. So let's go over to this one here. And this is the chapter, the family and the house. The first part of the chapter is going to be about the family and the family members. And then the second part, when we talk about the house, we're going to be looking at rooms inside the house. Now, it also says our objectives. Let's look what our objectives are. Our objectives say, aquí allí, vamos a comparar. Let's compare. In both Spain and Latin America, families were often quite large. However, family size is decreasing. Do you think families are also becoming smaller in the United States? So what do you guys think? I would have to agree with that, to be honest with you. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of agree with that. Things have changed. So usually families tend to be a little smaller nowadays. The extended family, including aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins, etc., is very important in the Spanish-speaking world. Do you think the same is true in the United States? So, yes, this is very, very true. Extended family, not just your immediate family, but extended family in Spanish cultures are super important. Your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, not that they're not here, but they take an extra importance in Spanish cultures. And we'll talk about that a little more. The objectives. You will talk about families and pets. Yay, we're going to talk about pets. Describe a house or apartment. So I will see how I'm going to do this, but I want to try and describe my house to you so you can see it. And we're going to describe rooms and some furnishings. Discuss a family from Ecuador. We're not going to do that one. We will be talking about different cultures and the way that different people live, but we're not going to discuss the specific one. And then you will use the verb tener and possessive adjectives. Now, from this chapter, what you should notice is that with this first part, these first four, or I should say these first three dots, this is going to be the vocabulary. So the vocabulary is going to center around families and the house. And the grammar section, like last chapter, you're gonna have a new verb. So you're gonna see that chart I showed you, but this time the verb is gonna be tener, to have. All right, like I have something, which leads us to possessive adjectives. Now, this concept of possessive adjectives, it's not too bad. It's pretty easy. I think it's kind of like the definite articles. You just have to basically follow a pattern, and you can figure that out as far as grammar goes. And then the verb, if you're starting to get familiar with that chart that we looked at for the verb to be, it's very similar. I will teach it to you. Okay, it's a little easier than the last one as well. So let's get into the introduction. So we have here, let me zoom out a little bit. It's a little bit. Okay. Introduction to the theme. Introducción al tema. La familia y la casa, the family and the house. Look at these photographs to acquaint yourself with the theme of the chapter. You will learn to describe your family and home as well as families and homes in Spanish-speaking countries. What do you notice about the families and homes seen here? Do any look like your own? How are they similar? How are they different? So let's start with this little picture here of Spain. I'm gonna try and zoom in a little more. It says, this is in Spain, all right? It's the way you say Spain in Spanish is España. Notice the ñ on it, España. And it says, las casas típicas de Guipúzcoa, that was a hard one, Guipúzcoa, en el norte tienen balcones. En cada balcón hay flores bonitas. So, it says that, and I'm going to follow along with the mouse as I read it. Ready? The typical houses of Guipúzcoa on the northern part of the city have um, these little deck areas, these little terraces. In each, oh no, I forgot the word. In each of these little openings, okay, there's little flowers, pretty little flowers. So you can see the style in Spain. What you notice here in this picture, hopefully you can see it clearly, it's the vibrant colors. I've been to Spain. Not all of Spain looks like this, but this is probably like a small town outside in the north of the country. And there's lots of balconies. That's the name. I can't believe I forgot. Balcony. And it even looks like balcon. Anyways, but these balconies is what they were trying to show us, and they were trying to tell us that they put little flowers out there. As you can see, the guy's wearing a short sleeve shirt, so it's warmer climate. So the balconies add a nice little touch to the way people live in the area. Let's see. This one is a house in Venezuela, and it says, una familia venezolana durante una fiesta familiar. Abuelos, tíos, padres, primos y nietos. Okay, before I read this, I want you to notice that every single one of these group of people, the way that the word is written out is masculine. I want you, for this pausing point, I want you to try and remember, why is it that when we talk about a group of people, it's referred to as the masculine term? Abuelos, tíos, padres, primos, y nietos. So go ahead and pausing point, see if you can remember. Okay, so if you think back to chapter 1, when you have a group of people, you always want to go with the masculine form of the verb or the word. So this word abuelos means grandparents. You have to go with the masculine, all right? And all these do the same thing. But this paragraph says, there's a family from Venezuela during a family party. You have your grandparents, abuelos. You have your aunt and uncle, your tíos, your parents, padres, and then you have your cousins and nephews. One thing I want you to notice from this picture is, again, I want you to notice the balcony, the open concept. I also want you to notice that yes, Venezuela is in the southern part of it's in the northern part of South America. It's next to Colombia. So you're gonna get a really hot climate. And again, notice the open concept, things are outside, okay? And also notice the bars on the windows. You're gonna see this a lot, just the way it's structured. Now here we have in Argentina, it says una casa en una zona residencial de Buenos Aires, Argentina. So here we are in the city of Buenos Aires in Argentina. And it says this is a house in a residential zone of Buenos Aires. It's a really pretty house. It almost looks like a bank, but so yes, this is a nice little house and the bushes look a little weird, but that's okay. All right, so Argentina, very nice city. It's actually cold in Argentina. So let me see if I can show you really quickly. So really, really, really quickly, guys, I want to just explain a little bit about this whole warmer climate thing because I know, especially sixth grade, I know you guys are doing some stuff on South America and Latin America. So I just want to show you something quick. Basically, um, the majority of the Spanish-speaking countries that we're going to talk about are going to be from South America because Central America, you guys are more familiar with Central America. It's going to be up here, where Mexico, Costa Rica, okay, Panama, all those, and then Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and Cuba. Those are all like up here in the islands. So you have the Caribbean, so that's all warmer climate. Here, let me just show you like this. I think this map is this map is better. All right, so this map is much better. So the majority of countries that you guys are familiar with, obviously because it's right next to the United States, is going to be Mexico, Cuba, and then you have the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, which is a tiny island right here. The majority of the countries you're familiar with are right here. Now, if we go a little further down, most of the countries we're going to talk about are right here. We're not going to talk about Brazil because they speak Portuguese. But the majority of the countries we're going to talk about are right in this area, which is near the equator, named after Ecuador, in the equator. And these have also warmer climate. The only countries that share kind of a cooler climate, like almost like a New England type of climate, would be these countries right over here, especially because when we talk about Argentina, when we talk about Chile, and when we talk about Uruguay, all right, these three countries in particular, the capitals of these countries, or the majority of the times we talk about these countries, the capitals are usually Chile is right in the middle, Argentina is like down here somewhere, and then Uruguay is somewhere over here. Because the capitals are further down south and they're closer to the Antarctic, they're going to be colder climates. So when we look back at pictures like this one, this is why this one's going to be colder climate. Every other country that we're going to talk about, it's going to be warm climate, and you're going to see some similarities and some consistencies with the structure of the buildings and stuff. Anyways, let's keep going. As I was saying, now we're going to look at some Central American countries so you can see. Now let's start with Panama. It says, take a look at these pictures first. And then I want you to just think about it for a minute. Do they look like? Let's go back to those questions they wanted you to ask yourself. So, what do you notice about the families and homes in here? Do any look like your own? How are they similar? How are they different? You may have noticed here the balconies. Do you have a balcony in your house? Over here, do you guys usually tend to hang out outside year round, or is it mostly in the summer? Um, and then take a look at this one. I'm not going to read it yet. I want you to just look at it, think about it, and then we'll read it. So, pausing point. Okay. So, this is Panama. If you, Panama is the last Central American country before you get to South America. And we're still talking about that warm climate near the equator. And it says some typical houses of the indigenous in the tropical zones of a lot of Latin American countries. So these are typical indigenous houses in Panama. These are houses over stumps, or not stumps, pilotes. Pilotes is, you see these little stumps right here. Okay. With roofs made out of straw. So the roofs, yes, this is called paja. It's called, they're made out of straw. It keeps the temperature inside of the little hut or the little house nice and cool. All right. I have seen these houses. They're really simple, really nice. They keep the rain out. I mean, they're very basic. They keep the rain out and they keep it cool inside. And they are all over Latin America. Different indigenous cultures. Does this look like where you live? No, I don't think so. But I'm glad they included the indigenous people so we could talk about it. All right. Now let's take a look at a house in Mexico. This is a luxurious house in a residential zone in the city of Mexico. Una casa lujosa en una zona residencial de la Ciudad de Mexico. And here again, notice the similarities between a country in Central America and Spain, which is in Europe. The style is pretty similar. Notice the balconies. I want you to notice also the type of material that this house is made out of. Something the book doesn't tell you. This material keeps the house on the inside cool. You don't really find this material here in the United States as much. This is You will find it, for example, in Florida. If you go down to Florida, a lot of houses are made out of this material. Keeps the house cool on the inside. And here we have a family in the United States. Okay? It just says una familia latina en Estados Unidos. Just like your families. You have the mom, the dad, or the stepmom, the stepdad. It's all good. We have the kids, the cousins, the family. Oh, yeah. And last but not least, we have a house in Costa Rica. This is a house in San Jose. Like lots of things in Latin America, they have like a lot of houses in Latin America, they have a patio, a pretty patio in the middle. So this is something a little different. You might not really have seen houses with patios in the middle. I certainly have not seen any here in the United States that have patios in the middle, but in Latin America, it is common to have patios and to have open concept areas because of the climate. What you will also notice, maybe not in this picture, but in the next pictures that we're going to look at as we go through the chapter, is sometimes the windows don't really have glass. They're kind of just a hole in the wall. Not because they can't afford a window, but because it lets the cooler air in. All right. So let's see. That was the introduction to this chapter, the family and the house. Now let's see. The next page is going to be the vocabulary. So this is what we're going to do tomorrow. Let me explain the rest of the week. Today we did the introduction. On Tuesday, tomorrow, we are going to do this part of the vocabulary. So we're going to look at vocabulary number 1. So you want to have your graphic organizers ready because we're going to do this page and this one. Okay? With a little practice. I'll have the practice for you guys. Now on Thursday, because Wednesday is a day to catch up, we're going to do vocabulary 2 on Thursday. And vocabulary 2 has to do with things of the house. So the rooms of the house. Again, the graphic organizers have this one as well. Then, after we're done with the house and the family, next week we're going to talk about this verb, to have. And the last part of the chapter, because we can finish this chapter in like 2 weeks. My plan is to just go through it as we go through it, basically like one at a time. and I don't want to rush this chapter either. So this might take us to 2 weeks. You can plan on having your second summative probably this third week in May. And we're going to look at possessive adjectives, which is the last thing we're going to look at before the summative. So, leave this here. I would like you guys to watch this video after the lesson with Sabo, and he's going to go over his family members. So that way you have a little preview of what's to come tomorrow. And when we go over the family members, you have a better idea of who is who in Spanish, okay? Now, before I finish the video, if you checked your Power School grades, if you're all set, you can go ahead and stop the video. You can go ahead and start watching. Study your new vocabulary. So look at the list and watch the video. These following next couple of minutes are just for students that would like to retake the test. Okay. So for those of you that don't need to retake it, you already checked your grades. You're good. Hasta mañana. Ciao. If you are wondering about the test, just stay on. Okay. So some of you took the test and you may have received at the bottom, like on the bottom of the in the comment section, your I asked you to wait until Monday for further directions. So what's going to happen is if you received a message from me on the bottom right corner or on the where I give you the answers for the test, if you would like to retake that test, you're going to have a little comment that says, let me know if you would like to retake it. If you do not have that comment, then you cannot retake it. Only if you have that comment. Now, what you need to do is just very simply send me an email. Just say, Mr. Perez, I would like to retake the test, please. I'm going to assign retakes on Wednesday. I'm sorry, on Thursday. I apologize. On Thursday. So for those of you that got a little note that says if you would like to retake it, to reach out to me, you have until basically Wednesday to reach out to me, and then on Thursday I'm going to assign the retakes. If you don't reach out to me, I'm going to assume you're not watching the videos. You have 3 days to reach out to me. If you're having issues with the internet or anything like that, let me know. But if you're worried about your test or retaking it, just send me an email. We'll discuss it and then be prepared to take it on the 7th. It's going to be 15 questions instead of the 20. It's going to look a lot like the study guide, which was very similar to the test as well. If you have any questions, send me an email, please. I will be available during my office hours. Okay. And the majority of you did really well on the test. Some of you that have to retake it, it's if you look at the answers and you check your answers and you see where you went wrong, it might have been a couple of things. Maybe there was a section that you didn't do too well on, like the definite articles. Or maybe you were using Google Translate and you got some of the answers wrong. So again, be careful with that. So if you want to reach out to me, go ahead and do that. Other than that, make sure you're watching the videos, study your vocab today, and watch the Familia with Sabo video. All right, hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you mañana. Nos vemos mañana, muchachos. Chao.